New Orleans 31-13 winners over the Panthers. This is exactly what I feared would happen, and I wished would not happen.
Well, we predicted this last week.
I know, but I just wish that the Panthers gave not necessarily more of an effort, that they protected Cam Newton a little more, that they didn't feed into this frenzy that, you know what, the Panthers are not that good. They're a good team, but they're not on the level of the Saints.
They might be talent-wise or whatever, but they're not ready. They don't have that veteran leadership to win these. They've never won these games before. National spotlight game, for really all the marbles for the division. But they're not out of it. I mean, they could beat the Saints at home in 2 weeks.
No, they're not out of it. I just didn't want them to lose the way that they lost, is what I'm saying.
But we all knew Drew Brees, he was going to take over that game.
Yeah.
And he did.
And he did in the second quarter. Are the Panthers, are they pretenders in your book?
Yeah, they're pretenders. Okay, so first of all, let me state for the record how wrong I was about the Panthers. Okay. So in the beginning of the year, I took the under on them. Terrible mistake. Okay. And then
what was the over-under?
It was like 7.5 or something. They're already at 9. Okay. So, last night I loved the game because I figured out why. What happened? Because this was a team that lost close games. In like record-breaking pace, they would lose close games.
Yeah.
Ron Rivera was not that good a coach. He'd tighten up and he'd lose them on purpose almost, right? And so I was like, what in the world got into the Panthers that they won all these games? So they explained in the game 2 things. One is really minor. Jerry West went and talked to Cam Newton during the preseason, and they're good friends. Jerry West is a colossal winner who should not be underestimated. Giving advice to Cam Newton, that's a little helpful, but that's not the main thing. Ron Rivera, after he lost to the Bills, apparently realized that he was being too tight, that he was calling plays that were too conservative, and decided after the Buffalo loss that he was going to go for it in all tough situations, okay? And now apparently on the team, his new nickname is Riverboat Ron.
Which he trademarked.
Oh, that's funny. So now that he's being more aggressive, they're winning all the games because that's the correct coaching method, okay?
It's no
I can't
surprise.
believe it's taken this long for everybody to figure it out, and half the league still doesn't know.
It's amazing how Cenk and Ben are friends. To me, it really is. Because Ben has been saying the same exact thing for like 2 years now. Just go for it. Go for it on fourth down. 4th and short, 4th and 1, 4th and 5. But go for it.
I love John Fox yesterday in that Broncos game going for it on 4th and 1 or 4th and goal. There's something to be said for that aggressiveness.
You should almost always go for it. I mean, it's like, so there's been statistical analysis done about how you should almost always go for it and you should almost never punt, except under certain circumstances, like, if it's 4th and 22 and you don't have a playbook for it,
right, and
then
you're on your own 15,
then you punt, okay? But if it's anything like 4th and under 5 and you're past your own 40-yard line, you just go for it.
Yeah, and they don't. And the reason Ben and I are in favor of that, and Steve and it's because it's based on studies. It's based on facts, right? And as smart football fans, you see it. They're too tight. Why? Because they're afraid of getting fired. You get fired for controversial decisions as a coach. That's why they're unnaturally tight. So that's why when the Sean Paytons of the world do an onside kick in the Super Bowl, everybody's like, whoa, but it leads them to victories, right? That's why Chip Kelly's going to be fantastic in the NFL.
You know what I was expecting from him? Super Bowl. I saw it coming.
Didn't Leslie Frazier play for the tie when he punted instead of whatever? Was not aggressive, afraid of losing his job. Probably going to lose his job anyway.
That's the Mark Trestman way of thinking. By the way, getting back to Carolina, their defense was really good before this game. The 24 points that they surrendered, most Carolina has surrendered this year. When, of course, Drew Brees went off. The average for them this year was 13.1 points per game. 20-plus yard plays, New Orleans 6, Carolina 0. No big playability. Their defense was playing against one of the best quarterbacks in the league, probably number 2 right now.
Before yesterday's game, the Panthers have not allowed more than 2 touchdowns in any game this season. That's impressive.
Yes, very impressive. Yeah, and they also have Luke Kuechly, who's phenomenal at linebacker.
So sweet.
He is he?
Such a sweetheart.
Luke Kuechly?
Yeah. Went back to school, got his degree.
Oh, good for him. He spells it weird, though. It's
he
like
was
Kuchly.
Something funny. They had a nice package on him.
So, but in the beginning, if you notice, I said they're still pretenders. Why? Even though they've turned it around, they've been great, their defense is great, props to Ron Rivera defense. Cam Newton's playing really well. They just don't have enough weapons. So Steve Smith is too old.
Receivers? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
Steve Smith is too old. He keeps going to Greg Olsen.
I know.
Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen
wrong
ain't
with Greg Olsen?
Like,
Like
he's
18
fine. He's like a
Terrible.
mediocre tight end. That's the best receiver he has. They just don't have enough weapons.
Jimmy Graham.
And their running
No
backs are also mediocre. And their offensive line does an okay job in pass protection, but a terrible job of running the ball. With an offense that bad, you just can't win in the playoffs.
I agree with everything you're saying, and that's why I have Cam at number 2 for the MVP, because he makes that whole thing go. And he's been making terrific decisions, like when to run, when to throw, and he's been attacking the defense. So since that game, since Ron Rivera became Riverboat Ron, they've gone for it on 4th and 1 or 2. And they've made it I think they're 6 and 2.
Sure. Well, you've got Cam.
yeah.
I mean, how many of those have been him just running it for those 1 or 2 yards?
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they're like 8 of 10. I'm pretty sure that's what it
it's
is.
a really high number. It might be 8 of 10. Yeah, 8 of 10 or something like that, going for it on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. And
But
that's
if
what they're
you-
winning.
You just said if
Yeah.
you have a defense that's only allowing average 2 touchdowns a game,
Exactly. Why not?
you don't
go
have
for
to
it?
be Peyton Manning. You have to be Peyton Manning when you have their defense. You have to score 51
that's
points.
why Peyton Manning is a clear MVP.
Yes.
And right underneath it, I would put Cam and then Russell Wilson.